This is home. Twin States News starts right now.
Tonight, the controversy surrounding Roe v. Wade continues. This after documents were leaked suggesting the Supreme Court may be poised to overturn the law. Twin States News' Jasmine Stevenson spoke to some residents to get their thoughts on the matter.
When speaking to people on the recent Roe v. Wade controversy, I got the opinion of both ends of the spectrum. One individual who did not want to be on camera recently moved back from California to Mississippi. She says that the state is behind its time.
I am pro-choice, and I think Mississippi is just very far behind on their times, and at some point change needs to happen. The individual is different. It should be left to the individual.
Other people had a different opinion.
I am very pro-life. I firmly believe that abortion is murder, and I believe life begins with conception, and I believe that Roe v. Wade needs to be overturned.
Over the weekend, Governor Tate Reeves spoke about the future of abortion in Mississippi. The state has what's called a trigger law, which would immediately ban abortion if Roe v. Wade is overturned.
Mississippi does have a trigger law in place that was passed in 2007, and that trigger law will go into effect should the draft opinion, which obviously has been a bit of a bombshell this entire week from a national conversation and political discussion. But yes, our trigger law will go into effect. It does have an exception for rape. It does have an exception for the life of the mother.
Local resident Barbara Shields spoke about some of the circumstances that Governor Reeves mentions.
Sometimes, it could be a life-threatening situation that, the child has to be aborted, and even though miscarriage is a way that, the body take care of itself, that a child that cannot survive outside the mother's womb, so we'll be, hopefully, the government will make the right decision on that being said.
There has not been a date announced on when the Supreme Court will make its ruling on Roe v. Wade. We'll keep you up to date as it develops. Jasmine Stevenson, Twin States News, Meridian.
Protests are expected to continue through the week as the U.S. waits for the Supreme Court to release their final ruling on federal abortion rights. Lauren Blanchard is in Washington with the latest.
A weekend of coast-to-coast protests over abortion rights. No major violence. However, there was an attack on a pro-life organization in Madison, Wisconsin, with this spray-painted on the side. If abortions aren't safe, then you aren't either.
People who perpetrated this against us, that they're free to disagree with us, but they're not free to destroy property. They're not free to threaten individual lives and safety.
Police are investigating. A White House official saying President Biden strongly condemns this attack and political violence of any stripe. Americans continue to wait for a final ruling by the Supreme Court, which in a leaked draft opinion appeared to be ready to overturn Roe v. Wade and toss abortion rights back to the states. However, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell suggested in an interview with USA Today that a national ban on abortion could be possible if Republicans regain control of Congress and eventually the White House. Quote, if the leaked opinion became the final opinion, legislative bodies, not only at the state level, but at the federal level, certainly could legislate in that area. Not all in his party agree.
I think that's inconsistent with what we've been fighting for 4 decades.
Trusting democracy on the state level is probably the way to go. I think that's what jurists from the left and the right have said.
Wednesday, the Senate is planning to take up abortion protection legislation. Democrats are not expected to have enough votes for it to pass. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
New York Attorney General Letitia James announces New York will work to protect women's right to abortion. Today, James announced a bill that would create a state program to financially support abortion providers in New York and will also provide them with the resources needed to care for out-of-state patients who come to New York to seek abortions. A Meridian man died on Sunday afternoon in a motorcycle crash in Kemper County. According to Mississippi Highway Patrol, 32-year-old Robert Yepes struck a guardrail and overturned while traveling on Highway 45. Yepes was pronounced dead on the scene. The accident is still under investigation by the Highway Patrol. After almost 2 weeks on the run, authorities say the manhunt for Casey White and former Assistant Director of Corrections Vicky White has ended. The sheriff in Lauderdale County, Alabama, confirmed both Vicky White and Casey White were in custody after a police chase ended in a wreck in Evansville, Indiana. Sheriff Singleton said Casey White surrendered to police and Vicky White was taken to the hospital. U.S. Marshals reported they were investigating a tip saying the pair had abandoned a 2006 Ford F-150 in Evansville, Indiana, at a car wash. The pair were last seen leaving the Lauderdale County, Alabama detention center. Mental health. For many, the pandemic has taken a toll. Today, Twin States News' Donisha Branham visited with a specialist to find out the importance of addressing your own mental health.
The month of May has been known as Mental Health Awareness Month since 1949. Mental Health Awareness Month is a time to help people become more informed and more aware and more educated on mental illness. We hear from an expert today on the importance of taking care of your mental health.
So mental health is taking good care of your mind and your emotions, your choices and your decision making. Also, that factors in your relationships and the quality of your experience of life.
Mental health illness affects people from all walks of life, with Naomi Jude being the most recent high-profile individual to lose her battle with mental illness. Several studies show that there has been a rise in mental health issues.
So we know that before COVID, the statistics showed that 1 in 5 adults have experienced some type of mental health problem, and we know that that's increased greatly since COVID, with all the periods of isolation and disconnection that people have experienced.
Owen says that there are some telltale signs to observe that could show that your mental health may be in jeopardy.
If you noticed more than several days a week that you're feeling down and depressed, and maybe you can say, I don't really have a reason to feel that way, lack of motivation, withdrawing from your social circle or your family, isolating, not wanting to do activities that you're used to doing or have interest in.
There are multiple different ways to take care of your mental health, from exercising, seeing a therapist or counselor, and seeking help if necessary. We hear from some individuals about what they do to take care of their mental health.
I do a lot of walking and exercising for my health. Thank God for being here to see another day.
I would run and I would go to the gym and really just listen to music, listen to my favorite kind of music if I was having a down day.
Experts say now is the time to reach out and connect in a safe way and acknowledge that it's okay to not be okay. Donisha Branham, Twin States News, Meridian.
The Lauderdale County's Road and Bridge Department will host a Household Hazardous Waste Day this Saturday, May 14th. The event will be held at the Lauderdale County Agriculture Center on Highway 19, beginning at 8 a.m. and lasting until 2 p.m. Items like tires, paint thinners, used oil, and antifreeze will all be accepted. To find out which other items will be taken up, you can visit our website, twinstates.news. The public is invited to attend the New Life Community Neighborhood Watch meeting scheduled for this Thursday, May 12th. That meeting will take place at the New Life Community Church beginning at 6 p.m. Residents in the area of New Life Community Church are encouraged to join and take part in helping to reduce crime in the neighborhood and across the community. People across the nation are feeling the pinch of inflation, especially when it comes to the price of food. Carly Moore shows us some shopping alternatives that may help families stretch their dollar.
The Bureau of Labor Statistics reports the price of groceries has gone up 10% overall.
Grocery store prices are outrageous, and every time we go there, we're just thinking it's going up and up and up.
We're talking almost a 14% hike for meats, poultry, fish, and eggs, and an 8.5% on fruits and veggies. It's a sure sign that these days, spending less takes more thought.
We really provide healthy, clean, affordable food to the community at a lower markup.
The Co-op at First is a small locally owned grocery store that sells local affordable products with no income requirements.
People of every monthly income can come here and shop and participate, and their money is supporting the low-income communities. And by shopping here, you're your money keeps us going.
But if you have the means to pay up front, $500 will allow you to participate in a program like the Flesher Family Farm CSA, or Community Supported Agriculture.
And that program's 18 weeks long, and members get to come once a week and pick up a box of between 8 to 10 items that are in harvest, depending on what time of year it is.
Tomatoes, herbs, root vegetables, and more will be grown by them on their land until it's harvested for you.
If people were to go to a natural grocer's or any place out there where they're buying organic foods, I think they would find that they would spend a lot more than $500 over that course of time. So we hope that we are saving people money as well as providing them with really good nutrient-rich food.
Parents in nearly half the country experiencing a shortage of baby formula, and the problem is getting worse. Lauren Blanchard in Washington with what parents need to know.
It's incredibly stressful to not know if I'm going to be able to feed my baby next week.
Concern for parents over how to feed their babies. The nationwide shortage of formula is growing worse. More than half of states have a 40 to 50% out-of-stock rate of formula. The shortage began with supply chain problems, then made worse after a major producer, Abbott Nutrition, had a voluntary recall in February. When 4 infants that drank their products became sick, 2 died. The Food and Drug Administration in March announced they found Abbott's plant in Sturgis, Michigan, failed to maintain sanitary conditions.
As a parent, you just want to provide for your child, and it's your worst nightmare if you're unable to do so. And I feel that we're on the verge of a public health crisis if this isn't fixed.
In a statement, Abbott Nutrition said they are working with the FDA to fix problems at the Michigan plant and are ramping up infant formula production at other facilities. Quote, "We are dedicated to doing everything possible to ensure parents and caregivers have what they need to feed their babies."
Ensuring the availability of these products is also a priority for the FDA, and they're working around the clock to address any possible shortage.
Doctors warn against homemade formula.
There's a chance for a bacterial infection through those homemade formulas. So we recommend against making your own formula.
Some major retailers like CVS and Walgreens say they are limiting the number of formula people can buy in order to prevent hoarding. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
Still ahead tonight, we have your complete forecast. Plus, one fire agency is teaming up with a swimming school to help teach the public about how to make sure kids stay safe in the pool. Details coming up.